have Winona Ryder in the Rainbow Family Commune of Living. If you're a fan of all the iconic 80s movies and Johnny Depp's Wino Forever tattoo, then you should know the name Winona Ryder very, very well. But what you may not know is that Ryder was raised in the Rainbow Family Commune of Living for most of her life. Ryder's family joined the commune when she was just 7 years old and lived a life solely on the land. No TV, no electricity whatsoever. So how on earth did Winona become so excited about acting? Well, it was actually reading that got her interested in the profession, and when her family moved out of the commune a few years later, she began auditioning. Thankfully, they left the cult life behind before it went really south, but Winona still describes her parents as the 60s hippie type. When she started going to regular school, however, she was still considered an outcast and suffered various types of verbal and physical bullying. But there's a reason we know Winona's name, because she's awesome and she turned whatever weirdness people thought she had into a prolific film and TV career. Go Winona. Number 9. The Organite Society with Jaden Smith. This next one has drawn in the likes of Jaden Smith and Kylie Jenner. If you're a follower of these two celebs, then you may have seen them holding strange pyramid objects that look like the product of one of those satisfying TikTok resin videos. Well, that's not entirely wrong. These objects are called organites and are the signature object of those in the Organite Society. What are they? They are pyramids of organite, which is a man-made crystal said to be able to realign and heal our imbalanced energies. According to the official website, an organite is made from resin, metals, and quartz, which sounds like the perfect craft for all those TikTok resin hobbyists out there. The ideology behind the Organite Society stems from a banned Austrian psychiatrist named Dr. Wilhelm Reich. A student of Freud, he was expelled from the International Psychoanalytical Association after Freud found significant red flags in his practice and was like, nah, not this guy, get out. After escaping World War II Germany and coming to America, Reich brought his research with him. Unfortunately, I don't know, making human-sized boxes out of organic and inorganic material. He claimed that if people laid on top of the boxes, the orgon would reorganize their cosmic energies, even allegedly healing those with cancer. He was eventually imprisoned for spreading medical disinformation and ironically died of heart failure. But even after his death, organites still live on and have obviously caught some significant attention. A part of me wonders whether Jaden and Kylie knew what they were joining, or if this was just something fun to make at parties. Coming in at number 8, we have David and Patricia Arquette. Though the entire Arquette family are actors, you may recognize the name David and Patricia Arquette for the shows like Medium and, I don't know, Scream. Alongside their interest in acting, the family also had a difficult upbringing linked to the Subud cult. Patricia was only 4 when they moved into the commune, and her brother David was in fact born there. But what is the Subud movement? Well, like many others, it's a cult built around a religious idea of finding the inner self and began in Indonesia in the 1920s. Centered around a practice called Latihan, members met around once or twice, men separated from women, to meditate and accept the power of God through movement. Wailing? Whatever they felt like. Basically sounds like they just did what they felt they needed to, or what they felt God told them to do. The Arquettes lived in a communal space with no washroom or electricity or running water in order to be brought closer to nature. The commune eventually became so poor that the government intervened and dropped off food for them. But apparently there was fun to be had at the commune, because very often the Arquettes would do performances. After a few years though, the family eventually moved back to Chicago after no longer being able to sustain themselves. We all know breathing is good for you. We need it. We literally can't survive without it. But some seem to think that's all we need to survive. Coming in at number 7, we have Michelle Pfeiffer and the Breatharian cult. A Breatharian believes that through strict meditation, they can reach a higher conscious state that allows them to be able to survive on air and sunlight alone. No food, nothing else. When Michelle was a young actress in Hollywood, she somehow got involved with a group of Breatharians. I also love the name, it's so literal. Like, cut straight to the point, we're about breathing air. Breatharians. Apparently they were very controlling and kept her on a strict vegetarian diet that no one could sustain. Though she never lived with them, she visited constantly due to pressure she received. This became such a financial burden on her because she had to pay every time she was there, which was a lot. She was quite literally a starving artist. Her ex-husband Peter Horton helped her get out of it due to a movie he was working on at the time that dealt with followers of the Unification Church. After doing more research, Michelle finally realized that she was in a cult and got out. Thank goodness she did, because this cult also had some deadly consequences. Some people have even starved themselves to death by their own hand. Most famously was Verity Lynn, who while attempting a 21-day breatharian program died of hypothermia and malnutrition brought on by self-neglect. Coming in at number 6, we have Val Kilmer and the Christian Science Group. Here is another cult that has its followers believing in the power of prayer to cure all. We may not have seen much of Val Kilmer lately unless you've been rewatching the 1995 Batman Forever or the Doors movie, but that's because we almost lost him. In 2014, Kilmer finally went to the doctor due to a massive lump in his throat and was diagnosed with throat cancer. Now, the Christian Science organization reneged this and said it was more of an idea of cancer rather than actual cancer. The group convinced him that he must instead relocate and dedicate himself to prayer so that his fear no longer manifested externally. Thankfully, his kids and family were like, "No, Dad, please, no, don't do that. That's not gonna work. That's not a thing," and thankfully convinced him to get the surgery he needed to survive. But even still, Kilmer attributes his healing to prayer and not, the doctors that helped him. Coming in at number 5, we have the surprising discovery of Glenn Close and the MRA. In 2014, the OG Cruella de Vil star revealed her family's experience with the moral rearmament cult. The MRA was founded by evangelist leader Reverend Frank Buckman in 1938 under the idea that to change the world you have to change the individual. Though that's not entirely a wrong way to look at global transformation, how he went about it was pretty, cultish? From age 7 to age 22, Glenn and her siblings were sent to live at the group headquarters in Switzerland. They indeed had a group mentality where everyone had to say and do all the same things. According to Close, if you even had desires to do otherwise, you were made to feel insanely guilty about it. When she finally broke away from the group, she wrote a furious letter to her father for what he had done by sending them to the group. She said as a result of her upbringing that she was terrified because she couldn't trust any of her own instincts, having entirely been defined by falsehoods while she was raised. Thankfully, she was able to find her way out of there, walk straight into acting school, therapy, and has now become the absolute icon she is today. Coming in at number 4, imagine your mom finally meets someone and you move in with him right away. Sounds like a suspicious setup? Am I right? This is an evil stepfather story. From age 7, famous rapper Angel Hayes was introduced to the Greater Apostolic Faith group by her mother. According to Hayes, all the people within the community lived 10 minutes apart and were forbidden to speak to anyone else outside of it. Couldn't listen to music, wear jewelry, and even eat certain things. It continued to get darker and darker, and sadly Hayes experienced some of the worst kinds of assault. Thankfully, Angel and her family escaped and she was out of there by age 10 and has built a phenomenal music career since then, which she has used to tell her story and reach out to those who need to hear the same. Her music is filled with passion and revenge for all those who wronged her inside this prolific cult. Her song, Cleaning Out My Closet, is the best example of how Angel has taken her story and used it to create badass music people need to hear. Coming in at number 3, before I continue to our top 3, please just reach down there, press that thumb, let us know you like us, and we'll be so grateful to you in return. Alright, coming in at number 3, we have Joaquin Phoenix and Rose McGowan with the Children of God cult. Both McGowan and Phoenix belonged to the Children of God cult during a period of time in their upbringing. The cult was helmed by preacher David Brantberg in, you guessed it, the 60s, 1968 specifically, and it initially began as a group for teens. It was fairly standard, the communes were isolated, they believed the end was nigh, and all the rest of the things you need for a cult. No one had jobs because they didn't want to belong to the system. Soon the group had hundreds of different communes, but it was soon revealed that more sinister things were happening. The group was revealed to contain and circulate sex trafficking, even using girls referred to as flirty fishers to enlist recruits at bars. When Phoenix's mother was introduced to this idea, the family got the heck out of there, and so did McGowan's. McGowan says that she must have gotten out by the skin of her teeth, but remembers seeing the kind of slavery that many women were forced into. But what's even crazier, guys, is that the group is still around today, though they've changed their name. It is now called the Family International, and members are now allowed to live privately in their homes and work outside of the commune. With the allegations, they now believe that the apocalypse is actually not here yet, and they still have around 1,700 members today. Yeah, if you just got a sinking feeling in your stomach, I did too. Coming in at number 2, we have Scientology. This next one is pretty controversial, as many debate whether it is a new form of religion or a business or a cult or all three. If you guess Scientology, then you are correct, and I almost don't even need to tell you who are our stars involved with it. We got Tom Cruise, we got Elizabeth Moss, we got Christiali, and John Travolta, and actually many more. One of the reasons people think this religion is so far-fetched was that it was found by an American science fiction writer, Ron L. Hubbard, in 1955. It was initially introduced as a kind of therapy called Dianetics, which sought to erase the content of the active mind so the soul could be more free. But Hubbard came to detest it as many psychologists denounced it. He was like, oh, never mind, I hate it. Whatever. Scientologists mainly focus on the evolution of the spirit on Earth and something called the Thetan, which they believe is an extraterrestrial creature who created all things. Thetans are trapped within us and have lived multiple human lives. The goal of the Scientologists is to become more aware of the Thetan within them so that they can achieve abilities they never thought possible. I think. I don't know. Guys, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, Scientology is pretty confusing, to say the least. But for some reason, this science and faith-based religion has swept Hollywood, and its followers are devout, to say the least. But those who have left often have some strange things to say. One ex-member named Leah Ramini says that any materials not written by a Scientologist are taught to be lies set on tearing the religion down. Anyone who speaks out against the church is considered an enemy, and they work to tear that person down. Another way the church makes it so hard to leave. Also, remember how I said some people think it's a business? Well, there is a case for that. Apparently there are tiers that define how ascended each follower is, and that there is a top tier that they can reach. Thing is, they have to pay, and Leia says that in fact that there's no top tier and it's all about keeping the money flowing in. Listen, I've read some kick science fiction in my day, and sometimes I want to believe it's so hard. Like, literally any Doctor Who episode I'm in. Sweep me off into your TARDIS, alien boy. But this, well, it's up to you to decide. And here we are, at last but not least, number 1. A cult that has recently been coding headlines with the face of one familiar Smallville actress, Allison Max. NXIVM hit headlines as a cult revolved around a man named Keith Raniere. Initially begun as a self-help multi-level marketing scheme for the heiress's CEOs, Hollywood actors, name anyone else who's famous, NXIVM has now been revealed as an abuse cult where its most devout followers would be branded and forced into sex slavery. Allison Mack was a fanatic within the cult and was even responsible for expanding and recruiting women for Raniere. In typical cult fashion, Keith was viewed as a god and savior, but when all the dirt got out, there was enough evidence to sentence him for 120 years in prison for all the abuse he dealt. The group was responsible for financial cons and ran for 20 years before information leaked about the cult. There is so much to unpack about this case, and no doubt you've heard about it. A lot of our top 10 have taken place in the 60s, which of course it was the hippie decade, you expect it, but even I can't sit still and watch an episode of Smallville without thinking about what was going on behind the scenes. Thankfully, the cult is no more, and many are being brought to justice.
At number 10 we have Foot Reading Cult. Hono Hana Sanpongyo is a cult with a foot fetish. Often known as the Foot Reading Cult, founder Hogan Fukugana believes that he is the reincarnation of Jesus and Buddha, because I guess 2 birds, 1 stone, 1 footy stone. Fukugana charges $900 for foot readings, claiming that he can diagnose people's problems and cure them, but he also claimed that people would die if they didn't pay him or let him examine their feet properly. 4 cult members were also known to die during their rigorous initiation rites at the base of Mount Fuji. Good news for those of you with fat toes though, it seems it means that actually your life will be filled with good fortune. Coming into number 9 we have the Cult of the Dead Cow. I mean, it doesn't sound great, does it? To be honest, it isn't what I thought though. It seems that the Cult of the Dead Cow is actually a web hacking group that was formed at a slaughterhouse in the 1980s. Now these guys coined the term hacktivism. The group have been known to circulate controversial e-zines, including an article called Sex with Satan. That being said, it seems that the group are very well respected in the online community and are committed to whistleblowing and doing good. So maybe the scariest thing about them is their name, and the fact that they were formed in a slaughterhouse, which makes me feel really weird and slightly uncomfortable. Coming into number 8 we have the Satanic Temple. They're an absolute classic, aren't they? I actually get confused between the Satanic Temple and the Temple of Lucifer, who we mentioned in a previous cult list. Now the Church of Lucifer participated in a lol-worthy Vice documentary in which they showed off their sultry headquarters, which featured a lot of red leather and a backlit statue of Satan. The Satanic Temple are kinda like same, but different. Lucien Greaves is the founder and spokesman for the Satanic Temple, which is headquartered in Salem, Massachusetts, because witchy. The group claimed to not actually be affiliated with the Dark Lord, Beelzebub, Lucifer himself, but are more set against Christian privilege. Although that being said, in 2013, they claimed that they were thrilled that their satanic children could pray to Satan in school as a result of Senate Bill 98. They also enjoyed making snake-tivity scenes instead of nativity scenes at Christmas. As a Slytherin, I'm kinda curious. It seems to me that the group is more concerned with general anarchy than actual satanic worship, although hurrah for them as they've been recognised as an official religion by the IRS, which means they're now rolling in that satanic dough. Coming into number 7, we have the Lizard Smokers. In a secluded spot outside Aligarh in India, there is a cult of, well, actually, I honestly don't know what you'd call them. Vice did an article about them and called them sinister with Y's instead of I's, so I guess we'll go with that. So here are some pictures of a few of the members wearing masks, and I have to say, masks generally are just a bit of a no for me. It seems that the group are rebellious anarchists who are against the strongly religious environment that they were brought up in and surrounds them. They take drugs, they pledge blood oaths, they smoke lizards, they dig up bodies, drink blood from their skulls, and they break into churches and mosques and destroy their property. In the Vice article, one of their journalists actually went to a few of their meetings, and they were told in advance that they had to masturbate before they arrived in order to be more relaxed. They were also told to take a bath, wear black clothes, bring 5 candles, incense, a silver chalice, a small bell, and a blade. Cool. Coming in at number 6, we have Nuwaubianism. So Nuwaubianism started in the 1960s in Brooklyn and was founded by leader Dwight York, who in 2004 was sentenced to 135 years in jail. The group created an Egyptian-style compound and took ideology from a number of popular religions, including Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. Not only did these guys wear traditional Egyptian clothing, they also had some wild ideas. So, what did they believe? They believed that all white people are murderous and genetically inferior. They believed that aborted fetuses were actually being dumped as live babies into sewers and would one day grow up and take over the world. They also believed that Jackie Kennedy Onassis gave birth to Satan's baby with the blessing of the Pope. Oh, and they also supported child sex slaving trafficking. Boo for them. Not feeling good. While the leader is firmly in jail where he belongs, the cult still exists and is headquartered in Bushwick Avenue in Brooklyn. Ugh, I don't like this. At number 5, we have flirty fishing. Flirty fishing, what a treat. It seems that this is an offshoot practice from the Children of God cult. In basic terms, it's an evangelical prostitution ring in which men are fished, like literally, by fisherwomen. It's creepy. It's creepy. It seems that women are forced to have sex every day with a variety of different fish, or men. Number 4. It seems that hidden in the inner bowels of Purchase College in New York, there is a shrine to actor Danny DeVito. I guess when I say inner bowels, I kinda mean it, as the shrine is hidden behind a paper towel dispenser in a toilet cubicle. Walking through a secret hole, you can see a cutout of the Hollywood actor standing amid offerings. The room contains strange spray paint symbols and, well, I don't know, why don't you have a look for yourself?
Leave an offering for our Lord and Savior Danny DeVito.
Patron saint of trash with a cross.
There is a sign in there that invites you to leave an offering for the Lord and Savior Danny. It seems students invited DeVito to the school to visit his secret worship room, and Danny DeVito responded to the news with this tweet. He said, "Your shrine honors me. My heart is filled with love and garbage." He then went on to say, "Tomorrow, as you may know, is my name day. Do something that makes you feel good. Above all, be kind to each other, pick up trash, recycle, and be aware of plastics in the ocean. Thanks, King DeVito. You have spoken your words. It is up to us to listen and carry them out." More toilet shrines. Good. Coming into number 3, a different direction, a more worrying direction, we have the Universe People. Psychedelic aliens. Sounds fun, but actually then I realized cult. Psychedelic aliens are never fun when it's part of a cult. The Universe People, or Cosmic People of Light Powers, is a cult that originated in the Czech Republic and was founded by Ivo H. Mender. They believe that a group of aliens are circulating and watching the Earth and will one day guide the chosen to a new place. It seems that not all aliens are good though. In 2007, the cult caused a stir when they sent instructions on how to defend against evil extraterrestrials to the Slovakia Ministry of Defense. It seems that some of the material read, "If you are attacked by a lizard man from an outer world, the Ministry of Defense should defend the people. Shouldn't it? Or do you consider those lizard people as friends?" Honestly, I'm really baffled by this. What are they trying to say? A lot of people are actually really worried about the existing Universe People cult because of the Heaven's Gate tragedy in 1997. 39 members of a very similar UFO cult called Heaven's Gate killed themselves in a mass suicide, leaving a curious note that read, "Hale-Bopp brings closure to Heaven's Gate. Our 22 years of classroom here on planet Earth is finally coming to conclusion, graduation, from the human evolutionary level. We are happily prepared to take this world and go with TI's crew." It makes me sad. Psychedelic aliens, not so great. Coming in at number 2, we have the snake cult. It seems that there is a small community called JoJo in the Appalachian Mountains of West Virginia. It's a super religious sect that handles snakes as a key part of their faith. It seems that the group have taken a paragraph from Mark 16, 17 to 18 in the Bible very literally. It encourages people to, I quote, "take up serpents, and if they drink anything deadly, it will by no means hurt them. They will lay hands on the sick and they will recover." So basically what happens here is they comb the woods for poisonous rattlesnakes and drink poison together and proceed to play with fire as some kind of sign of how much they love and worship Jesus. They believe that God anoints people and protects them from harm. In the congregation, the church have a hand-lettered statement that reads, "The pastor and congregation are not responsible for anyone that handles the serpents and gets bit. If you get bit, the church will stand by you and pray with you." What a relief. The same goes with drinking the poison. Cool. Snakes and poison. Snake handling was popular back in the early 1900s, especially in the religious southern states, but since those days it has been condemned, and for very good reason. Okay, so you thought the Danny DeVito cult was weird, you were freaked out by the snake handling, but wait until you hear this. Coming into number 1, we have the Prince Philip cult. Our Lord and Saviour, inappropriate Prince Phil. Okay, but to me this actually has to be like the weirdest cult of all time? Am I right? Am I missing something? In a village on the island of Tanna in the Pacific, people are obsessed with Prince Philip, the husband of the Queen of the United Kingdom. They think he's a divine being. It seems that they think a local volcano erupted and impregnated a village woman who birthed a white man who then went away to marry a queen. Good. Process. Steps. I guess they don't seem too hostile or scary, it's just strange. Who am I to judge though?
Or did a fun mask cause offense?
Still not judging. Also, impregnated by a volcano. Mate, that sounds painful.
Starting off this countdown, we have the Angel's Landing. In the early 2000s, a man named Daniel Perez, or Lou Castro, led a cult that lived at Angel's Landing. They all lived on a 20-acre property outside of Wichita, Kansas. Now, Perez had control of these followers because he convinced them that he was an angel and a seer that could look into the future and know exactly when they were going to die. Obviously, that was false. In reality, he would kill off his followers and use their life insurance policies to become rich. He was getting away with it for a while until police looked into the death of one of his followers, Patricia Hughes. In 2003, her dead body was found on the compound. Then in 2006, her husband mysteriously passed away. This all led the police back to Perez, who had changed his identity to Lou Castro. Eventually, he was caught and sentenced to 80 years in prison for the lengthy list of his disturbing crimes he committed. Yikes. In our 9th spot today, we have the Children of God. Formed in 1968, the Children of God, now referred to as the Family International, is a cult that believes in salvation and spiritual revolution and happiness. But as the group got a big following, their beliefs shifted. From there, the followers were forced to engage in dark practices, like having the females lure men into the cult by having intercourse with them.
Sadly, the followers were often mistreated in multiple ways. One woman who was a part of this cult as a child referred to it as living hell. It literally traumatized her. 31 people died at the hands of this cult. And like I said, it's still active, but in 2004 just changed its name to Family International. Moving on to number 8, we have the Brethren. This one is quite interesting. So the Brethren have also been given the name the Body of Christ, or Brothers and Sisters, and even Garbage Eaters. Why? Well, you're about to find out, that's for sure. So for starters, this cult believes that the end of the world is near, and so they are told they have to purify themselves in preparation for the end of the world. They do this by selling their possessions and breaking ties with all their family and friends. They then live as vagrants, eating garbage, hardly ever bathing, and never receive any medical treatment. They also do weird jobs to make money, but then any money they earn just goes right into the group. Due to this lifestyle, a number of group members have had serious mental breakdowns, others have sadly taken their lives. Not a cult you would want to be a part of. Honestly, no cult you want to be a part of. Coming in at number 7, we have the Raelism. Founded in 1974, this cult believes that life was created by aliens. Yes, you heard me correctly, aliens. These aliens then assumed human form to go check in on Earth and see how things are going. These aliens are said to be people like Jesus or the Buddha. So this cult spends their days worshipping space aliens. The scariest part? In 2000, they claimed that they founded a cloning company and that they managed to successfully clone a human. Literally everyone went nuts, and the White House even got involved in this, even though they never had any proof of the cloning. Unless the White House was like, okay, we'll pay you guys, just give us this device so we can clone people, but it stays between us. Dude, imagine? Okay, like that's freaky. Come in our 6th spot, we have Matamoros Cult, aka the Human Sacrifice Cult. In 1989, a man named Mark Kilroy went missing when out on spring break. Turns out he was kidnapped and then lost his life to this cult. This cult was known to kidnap people and take their lives as a sacrifice. The leader of this cult, Adolfo Constanzo, told his members that by doing so, they would become invincible. Why would they need to become invincible? Well, they were not only a cult, but they were also drug dealers as well. But Constanzo promised that they would never be caught by the police so long they continued to harm and sacrifice others. In the end, Constanzo was caught and then was killed in jail. But rumor has it that the cult is still around to this day. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the Doomsday Cult. Now, this one is pretty vague because there are a number of Doomsday cults out there, but they all pretty much follow the same belief. Now, there are 2 types of Doomsday cults. One that predicts disasters and thinks that the end is near, and the other one tries to destroy the Earth to bring the world to an end. Either way, both are terrifying and you definitely don't want to get mixed up in it. Both cults have been known to brainwash their followers. So they don't believe what the media is telling them and only listen to the lies of their leaders. Either way, they believe that like, hey, we're gonna die soon, or hey, let's try and make everyone die soon. So it's terrifying. Moving on to number 4, we have the Order of the Solar Temple. This cult was born off of the beliefs of the Knights Templar, and is said to be one of the creepiest cults out there. It is believed to have been founded in the late 1970s to early 80s. For the most part, the cult was peaceful. They had some weird beliefs, but they didn't do any harm. That was until 1994, when they believed that a member's son was the Antichrist. As a result, they killed both individuals. Then they enjoyed a Last Supper before taking their own lives by poison. On that day, 53 cult members lost their lives. It's an absolutely terrifying and heartbreaking story. To this day, this cult still exists. Moving on to number 3, we have the Amshinrinko Cult. Founded in 1984 by a man named Shoko Ashara, this is a doomsday cult as well as a terrorist organization. Basically, members of the cult believe that the end of the world was near, but that they were going to be the only survivors. Why? Well, the leader said he had powers and could transfer his spiritual power to his followers to take away their sins. In 1995, this cult carried out the deadly Tokyo subway sarin attack, where 13 people died and thousands got injured. Apparently, this was done as an attempt to start the apocalypse, but also to stop the authorities from shutting down their cult. As a result of this attack, 13 members of the group got the death sentence, including the leader Shoko. After his death, the name of the cult was changed, but to this day, it's still active. The cult was never banned and it has about 1,500 followers. Coming in at number 2, we have the Church of Euthanasia. Founded in 1992, this cult literally promoted people to take their own lives. Their whole belief was that the world was dying because of overpopulation. So they were like, let's get people to kill themselves to restore the balance in humanity. They even set up an assistance hotline where people could call in and someone would help them take their own life. That is seriously the most messed up thing I have ever heard. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the Church of Scientology. Is the Church of Scientology a cult or religion? Well, a number of people think that it is indeed a cult. You've probably heard of it because of famous Hollywood star Tom Cruise. He's a very prominent figure in the church. And this cult is certainly one you never want to get involved in. For starters, once you're in, the church will force you to disconnect from people not involved in the cult. This includes your family and your friends. Jenna Miscavige-Hill, a member of the church that left in 2005, had this to say about it, and I quote, "I was allowed to see my parents only once a week at best, sometimes not for years. So when you do want to leave, you literally have no one to go back to since you cut them out of your life. That's the other thing, leaving is so difficult. Apparently they will intimidate and harass you into staying. According to another ex-member, they also brainwash their followers. And if anyone misbehaves, they send them to this prison camp, where they are basically worked to death and barely fed to teach them never to be disobedient. There's also rumors that this cult commits crimes and murders, but they're so powerful that they can just get away with it all. If that's not scary, then I don't know what is.
Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have the Ordo Templi Orientis. The Ordo Templi Orientis is a controversial esoteric organization that was founded in the early 20th century by Karl Kellner and Theodor Reuss in Germany. Originally meant to be modeled after and associated with European Freemasonry, under the leadership of famous occultist Aleister Crowley, the group had a change in philosophy to be more aligned with Crowley's principles of Thelema. The cult is known for its secretive nature and controversial practices, including the use of ritualistic magic and sexual practices as a means of spiritual advancement. The organization has a hierarchical structure and emphasizes the importance of individualism and personal freedom. Of course, like with most cults, there are some controversial practices, but despite this controversy, the group has attracted a following among those interested in occultism and alternative spirituality. In our number 9 spot today, we have the Order of the Black Sun. The Order of the Black Sun is a secretive and controversial cult that has been the subject of much speculation and debate in recent years. Founded in the early 20th century, the group is believed to be based in Europe and has been linked to a number of bizarre and disturbing practices, including human sacrifice, occult rituals, and the worship of ancient deities. Members of the cult are said to be highly secretive and tightly knit, with their activities shrouded in mystery and hidden from public view. Many have claimed that the Order of the Black Sun is involved in a wide range of illegal and nefarious activities that include high-level crimes, as well as the manipulation of political and financial systems for their own gain. Many people claim that this group was founded by Heinrich Himmler and that its members included many high-ranking SS officers. People also have suggested that this cult attempted to use demon summoning as a way to help them win World War II. Even the demons were like, no, absolutely not. Despite numerous investigations into the group, very little concrete information is known about the Order of the Black Sun, and many questions remain unanswered about their true motives and activities. However, what is certain is that this enigmatic cult continues to captivate and intrigue people around the world, with many eager to uncover the truth about this very shadowy organization. In our number 8 spot today, we have the Hellfire Club. The Hellfire Club was a notorious secret society that existed in Britain
Britain during the 18th century. It was an extensive club that included some of the wealthiest and most influential people of the time, including politicians, aristocrats, and members of the royal family. The club was known for its very decadent parties, which were said to involve heavy drinking and gambling and all of the things people think these elite secretive parties hold. However, there were also rumors of more sinister activities, such as satanic rituals and human sacrifice. The Hellfire Club was shrouded in secrecy, and its members went to great lengths to keep their activities hidden from the public. However, their reputation as a group of debauched and immoral individuals eventually caught up with them, and they became the subject of scandalous rumors and gossip. Today, the legacy of the Hellfire Club lives on in pop culture, with many books, movies, TV shows featuring references to the group and their supposed activities. Despite these references, though, the true nature of the club's activities remain a mystery to this day. We're just left to speculate and come up with conspiracy theories. Drop your best one down below. In our number 7 spot today, we have the Order of the Nine Angels. This culty cult is a controversial and secretive organization that has been associated with the occult, Satanism, as well as having ties to some pretty controversial, hateful, and horrible beliefs. The group's origins are murky, but it is believed to have been founded in the United Kingdom in the 1970s. The ONA claims to be based on the principles of traditional Satanism and advocates for a return to pre-Christian pagan society. The teachings of the group are said to be highly esoteric and involve a very complex system of rituals, beliefs, and practices, which sounds really cool and mysterious until you hear that the group has been accused of promoting violence, extremism, and hate. Many people have accused the group of practicing black magic, as well as using the practice of summoning demons, and apparently this group has even been able to be linked to horrifying crimes, which include killings. Because of the nature of the controversy surrounding this group, its teachings have been banned in several countries, but despite these bans, the group continues to operate in secret, with its members communicating online and in private meetings. In our number 6 spot today, we have the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn was a mystical and magical organization that emerged in the late 19th century in England. It was founded by 3 prominent figures: William Wynne Westcott, Samuel Liddell McGregor Mathers, and William Robert Woodman. All 3 of these guys were fascinated by the esoteric teachings of ancient civilizations and sought to create a system that combined spiritual and mystical practices. The order drew upon various mystical and occult traditions, including Kabbalah, alchemy, astrology, and tarot, in order to create a comprehensive system of magical practices. Its teaching emphasized personal development, spiritual evolution, and the attainment of spiritual knowledge and enlightenment. The order's rituals and teachings were highly secretive and were only accessible to members who had undergone a rigorous initiation process. Its members included prominent figures such as Aleister Crowley, of course, W.B. Yeats, and Arthur Edward Waite, who went on to make significant contributions to the fields of mysticism and occultism. Despite the relatively short existence of this group, the order has had a profound impact on modern Western esotericism and continues to inspire spiritual seekers and magicians to this day. In our number 5 spot today, we have the Kabiri Mysteries. The Kabiri Mysteries refer to a set of ancient Greek religious practices and rituals associated with the Kabiri deities, a group of enigmatic gods worshipped in various regions of Greece, particularly on the island of Samothrace. The mysteries involved secretive initiation ceremonies that were performed exclusively by the initiated members of the cult and were believed to impart special knowledge and spiritual power to the participants. It's one of the most secretive religious groups in history, and the exact nature of the group remains the subject of intense debate among scholars because there is so little information to go on. It is generally believed that the cult was closely connected to the cults of Demeter and Persephone, and that the initiation rites involved elements of mysticism, fertility rites, and underworld symbolism. This mystery group exerted a significant influence on the development of Greek religion and culture, and were celebrated by various communities throughout the Hellenistic world. Despite the mystery that shrouds them, the Kabiri Mysteries continues to fascinate scholars and enthusiasts alike, offering a tantalizing glimpse into the ancient religious practices of Greece. In our number 4 spot today, we have the Church of Satan. The Church of Satan is a religious organization founded in 1966 by Anton LaVey. Despite its name, the Church of Satan does not worship Satan as a deity, but rather advocates for individualism, self-indulgence, and rational thinking. LaVey LaVey created the Church of Satan as a reaction to what he saw as the hypocrisy of mainstream religion and the repressive nature of society at the time. The Church of Satan's philosophy is centered around the concept that Satan is a symbol of rebellion and individual freedom. Members believe in indulging in their desires and pursuing their own happiness as long as it doesn't harm others. The church also promotes the idea of magic as a tool for self-improvement and self-realization. Heard that's where the demon summoning comes in. Demons aren't all bad, some can be helpful, you just need to know what you're doing. Of course, with a name like the Church of Satan, you're gonna face some controversy, and this group certainly has received its fair share of criticism over the years, with many accusing it of promoting evil and immorality. The organization maintains that it is a legitimate religion with a unique philosophy and worldview. In our number 3 spot today, we have the Temple of Set. The Temple of Set is a religious organization that was founded in 1975 by Michael Aquino, a former member of the Church of Satan. Wow, what a crazy connection. The Temple of Set is based on the philosophy of Setianism, and the group mainly focuses on the worship of Set, an ancient Egyptian deity associated with chaos, strength, and individuality. The Temple of Set is unique among religious organizations in that it places a strong emphasis on individualism and self-realization. It also incorporates elements of ancient Egyptian religion, as well as ideas from other Western esoteric traditions. Members of the Temple of Set are encouraged to pursue knowledge and self-discovery through practices such as meditation, ritual magic, and intellectual inquiry. The organization is very secretive and very exclusive, with membership only available through invitation. While believing in and worshipping the deity, those who belong to this group also believe in the existence of demons and other supernatural entities. In our number 2 spot today, we have the Manson family, started by the horrible Charles Manson. This story starts off when Manson was released from prison in 1967, where he then moved to San Francisco, where he gained a small following that would eventually go on to be the cult known as the Family. This charismatic yet very unstable ex-convict attracted a group of young and vulnerable followers who believed he was a messianic figure with profound insights into society and the future of humanity. And not only this, but they also believed that he had supernatural powers as well. The group eventually moved to an abandoned ranch outside of Los Angeles, and it was here that Manson continued to brainwash his followers and manipulate them with his own religious philosophies. Manson's followers carried out these brutal killings under his instructions, which he claimed were a part of a twisted plan to incite a race war he called Helter Skelter. In the end, Manson and several of his followers were eventually arrested and charged for the crimes, with a trial that was highly publicized. Manson's bizarre behavior and manipulative tactics in court further solidified his reputation as a deranged cult leader, and the story of this cult has had a lasting impact on American culture and continues to fascinate and absolutely horrify people to this day. Finally, in our number 1 spot today, we have the Knights Templar. The Knights Templar, also known as the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ and the Temple of Solomon, was a medieval Christian military order that was founded in the 12th century to protect pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land during the Crusades. The order became known for their bravery and skill in battle, and they quickly gained wealth and power throughout Europe. The Knights Templar became one of the most influential and respected organizations of their time, with members including knights, monks, and priests who took vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. They were known for their distinctive white mantles with a red cross and their motto, "Not to us, Lord, not to us, but to your name give glory." However, their power and wealth eventually became a threat to some European monarchs and the church, which many claim led to their downfall. The Knights Templar were disbanded in the early 14th century, especially since they were being accused of heresy and devil worship by the Catholic Church.
Starting us off at number 10 is the Order of the Solar Temple. The Order of the Solar Temple was founded by Frenchmen Luc Jouret and Joseph de Marlborough. It was founded in the late 70s or early 80s. It began in Geneva, Switzerland, but spread to have a branch in Quebec, Canada. It was a secretive cult that ended with a mass in both countries, with 53 people ending up dead overall. A former member, Herman Delorme, told the CBC 25 years ago that the cult offered an intense sense of belonging and closeness. If you pursued it, at one point what he calls the danger point is where you started feeling that you were different than other people. He said members lose touch with reality, and he said he doesn't know how far it can go and described himself as one of the lucky ones that got out. In his case, he was arrested and taken out of it after being caught trying to get illegal firearms for one of the cult leaders. He didn't talk about his initiation, but he did say he was initiated, meaning there was a process to get him into it. At number 6 is the Branch Davidians. So this cult had a military standoff with police, and it was an insular religious community. It undoubtedly brainwashed its members. It was formed in 1930 by Victor Houteff, and the infamous David Koresh joined in 1981. Under Koresh's leadership, a therapist that worked with the child survivors of the cult said the children lived in a misguided paramilitary community. The New York Times wrote in 1996 that, for sins as small as spilling milk, the children were struck with a wooden paddle known as the helper. To train them for the final battle, they were instructed to fight each other, and if they did not fight hard enough, they were paddled for that too. Koresh also told them to call their parents dogs, and this was since he was the one they should be referring to as father. Also, girls as young as 11 were given a plastic Star of David, signifying that they had the light and were ready to bear a child with the cult leader. Up at number 5 is Scientology. So people are lured into this cult for the answers that leaders say they know are true. When someone is going through a time in their lives with a lot of uncertainty, they can be vulnerable to fall into these trappings. Now, Scientology brainwashes through 3 different phases. First, they get followers to gradually adopt new language and commit more time to Scientology. They call those outside Scientology WOG as a derogatory term and use other lingo to start separating these new followers from the outside world. In the second phase, the followers have a confessional, where they say all the secrets of their entire lifetime. Then they record every wrong deed, real or imagined, committed in this and in any previous lifetimes as a part of the ethics process. Then, for the third phase, the new Scientologist assumes a new identity and worldview. This new worldview being that they belong to the cult and all other allegiances are severed.
In our number 10 spot, we have the Ant Hill Kids. In 1977, a Canadian man named Roch Theranault, I might be pronouncing it wrong, it's kind of a hard name to pronounce, created a doomsday cult that was called the Ant Hill Kids. Their beliefs were based on the Seventh-day Adventist Church, a church that Therault was personally removed from before creating his own cult. He began to assemble his followers on the premise that the world would end in February of 1979. The cult resided in Burnt River, Ontario. Roch is most known for performing all kinds of surgeries on his followers, including amputations and castrations, oh my lord. He even fathered 26 people with multiple wives within this cult. Roch was thankfully arrested in 1989, and he met his own doomsday end in prison by another inmate in 2011. In our number 9 spot, we have The Family, a popular Australian cult that was founded by a woman named Anne Hamilton Byrne in Victoria in the 60s. Anne convinced mothers to give up their children, and Anne adopted all 28 of them. They were dressed in traditional gender-specific plain clothing and were continuously mentally and emotionally hurt by Anne. At some point within these years, Anne started taking an illicit drug and began to think of herself as Jesus Christ. She would tell her family to take this psychedelic during her sermons, and she would preach that they were the master race that would continue on when the world ended. Anne was eventually caught by the police, but only was charged with a small fee, and then she went about her days, just living life until 2019 when she passed away. Well, at least that now means that her doomsday cult will be forever put to bed. We hope. In our number 8 spot, we have the Brethren. Still around today, and possibly a cult that would love to be adopted worldwide, I'm sure. This is a cult that was founded by Jimmy T. Richards in 1971. This group is considered radical as they believe that the only way to prepare for the end of the world is to purify yourself by giving up all modern conveniences and conflicts. The members are forbidden from celebrating. Man, that sucks and hurts my soul. I feel like I celebrate all the time. Heck, I celebrated when I woke up earlier and pushed myself to stay up. That's cause for celebration. They are expected to make anything they need and ignore all modern social conventions. Imagine having to make everything you need in life. No, I can't imagine this. I don't even know how to use a hammer properly, so I would probably be kicked out of this one. In our number 7 spot, we have the Plymouth Brethren. This is a doomsday cult that was created in 1831 in Dublin, Ireland, that was created by John Darby, a clergyman. Eventually, the group made its way to the United States, where it had roughly 50,000 followers. They studied the Bible, but the cult had some very interesting rules and beliefs as well. Members weren't allowed to go to the theater, probably because of fear
fear of indoctrination of non-Bible believing ideas. But also, for example, all pets needed to be put down as they were considered a distraction to God. Even the members had to attend service 5 times on Sundays. So basically they had no Sunday. The cult is most likely still strong today because John Darby never actually put an end date down for the Doomsday. He just said it would happen at the end of the church age. Smart. Then you could die before it happens and you'll never know if you were right, and you also never have to take the blame if it doesn't because you never said when. In our number 6 spot, we have the Laodicean Remnant Adventist Church. This cult is truly very terrifying, so I'm so happy that it has been raided and closed down. I mean, all cults are terrifying, but most of these cults are joined by people that have the choice to be a part of them. This cult gained its following through force. 79 people were put into forced labor, and they were promised that they would achieve salvation before the world ended. They were forced to sleep in tents and use dangerous machinery, and they were also forced to sleep near containers of dangerous chemicals. You would think that perhaps their food would be covered by this cult, but it was not. The brainwashing ended up running so deep that the people didn't even want to leave when the cult was raided in 2019. I'm so glad that this cult will not be trying to take over the world anytime soon. Coming up in our number 5 spot, we have Heaven's Gate. Not a cult that necessarily wanted to take over the world in its prime, but one where the leaders definitely thought that they were special enough that a Bible verse was referring to them. Arguably not as threatening, however, they managed to convince a group of people to take their own lives, so perhaps they truly were. Marshall Applewhite and wife Bonnie Nettles apparently read the book of Revelation and saw a reference in chapter 11 verse 3 to 2 witnesses to the end times, and they believed themselves to be those 2 witnesses. They at one point believed that a UFO would transfer them to a higher state of being, and when that didn't happen, they moved on and began believing that if they took their own life, then their souls would be transferred to a spaceship following the Hale-Bopp comet. What's eerie to me about this cult is that someone has kept their initial website active for all of these years. The creators have long gone, so why? Perhaps someone somewhere still believes in these ideas and hopes others will too. In our number 4 spot, we have the Children of God. A man by the name of David Berg created the Children of God cult, and it was founded in 1968 in California. The cult preached the word of God, but with a slight twist, such as it encouraged its girls to go flirty fishing, where essentially women would recruit men into the cult by performing acts of giving themselves in inappropriate ways. There were about 15 members in this cult around the world in its prime, believe it or not. The cult is actually still active today under the name Family International, so yes, perhaps it is a cult that one day hopes to take over the world. Hopefully at this point they've dropped the flirty fishing. In our number 3 spot, we have Shincheonji. This is an active cult still today that was founded in 1984 by Lee Man-hee. Known as the Shincheonji Church of Jesus, this cult is devoted to the thought that only through Lin Man-hee is Jesus Christ reanimated. Through him, followers believe that they can escape damnation. This is one of the largest doomsday cults in South Korea, and so many say is heavily radicalized. For example, they preach that getting sick is a sin as it distracts the person from being able to preach the word of God. In 2020, a practicing woman took her own life when she got sick with the coronavirus. This cult continues to try to spread its word to the world, and they definitely would want to take over if the opportunity presented itself. In our number 2 spot, we have the Church of Almighty God, aka Eastern Lighting. This is a pretty serious doomsday cult that is said to be still active today. I was honestly quite terrified while reading some of the reports that have been filed on this cult that I can't even believe it hasn't been shut down yet. This is a cult that was based off of a woman claiming that she was the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. She is pretty obscure and most members have no idea who she is. Limited people have contact with her. The group is known for its violent acts against people of all ages. On October 14th, 2014, a woman was heavily beaten to death
after turning down the cult members who were trying to recruit her. Honestly, this sounds more like a mob to me, but would love to know your thoughts in the comment section below. In our number 1 spot, we have the Supreme Truth. Supreme Truth is a cult that started in Japan in the 80s that was strong for 2 reasons. 1, people believed that its creator, Shoko Ashara, was not only the reincarnation of Jesus Christ, but also of Buddha. We'll get back to that one. And 2, because he had his followers believe that after World War III ended, humanity would come to an end. A thought that began to slowly become less convincing as World War III never came about, and humanity wasn't seemingly coming to an end. But the fact that people not only thought he was the reincarnation of Jesus and Buddha has to make you think, what the heck were they drinking? That is so clearly not a true story. Nonetheless, people believed him so heavily that they even paid money for his bath water, his hair, and one person even wanted his blood. Eventually, this cult turned quite violent, committing a lot of crimes in Japan, and after being captured, changed its name a few times. Rumor has it that it's still active and gaining traction. Yikes. Well, that's terrifying. I think I may go into my Disney princess bubble for the rest of the day, as the idea of these cults still in power and trying to influence the people of the world is just the most scary. Excuse me as I go blast the Tarzan soundtrack. Phil Collins always soothes the soul.
Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have the Agape Lodge. I've spoken about Jack Parsons before, but I had absolutely no idea that the American rocket scientist was also involved in occult practices. In the early 1940s, Parsons founded a cult-like group called the Agape Lodge, which was affiliated with Aleister Crowley's religious movement, the Lemma. The lodge was based in Pasadena, California, and practiced a form of ceremonial magic that aimed to invoke spiritual entities and to achieve personal transformation. Apparently, these entities included them trying to raise the Antichrist. In 1945, L. Ron Hubbard, who would later go on to found the Church of Scientology, joined the Agape Lodge and became closely involved with Parsons. The two men engaged in a series of magical rituals and experiments, including an attempt to create a homunculus, sorry if I said that wrong, a miniature human-like creature through alchemy. The relationship became strained when Hubbard convinced Parsons to invest a large sum of money into a business venture, which he then used to leave the country with Parsons' wife. I mean, fair enough, I think that would strain any relationship. Even the demons were like, damn, that was absolutely savage. The Agape Lodge disbanded shortly thereafter, of course, but the influence of Parsons and his esoteric practices continued to be felt in the world of occultism and popular culture. In our number 9 spot today, we have Ophite cultist Sathanis, also known as Our Lady of Ender Coven. This was a small satanic group founded by Herbert Arthur Sloan in the 1940s. The group was based in Los Angeles and practiced a form of Luciferianism, which emphasized the worship of Satan as a liberating force. The name Ophite refers to the ancient Gnostic sect known as the Ophites, who worshipped a serpent or dragon as a symbol of divine wisdom. The group's beliefs were heavily influenced by the writings of Aleister Crowley, as well as the teachings of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, which we spoke about last time, and other occult groups as well. The Ophite cultist Sathanis was known for its use of ritual magic and its promotion of sexual liberation and exploration. The group's rituals involved the invocation of demonic entities and the use of symbols, music, and dance. While the group was relatively small and short-lived, it had a significant impact on the development of modern satanic and occult movements, and its influence can still be felt in these circles today. In our number 8 spot today, we have Michelle Remembers. You might remember this one. Michelle Remembers is a controversial book that was written by Michelle Smith and her psychiatrist Lawrence Pazder, which was published in 1980. The book details Smith's alleged recovery of repressed memories of ritual harm at the hands of a satanic cult. According to the book, Smith claimed to have been harmed by members of the cult who allegedly engaged in a range of horrific acts, including killings, consuming flesh, and the use of demonic entities. The book's claims sparked widespread public public concern and fear about the existence of satanic cults in the United States. The book's veracity has been heavily criticized and debunked by numerous experts and scholars who argue that Smith's memories were likely the result of suggestive therapy techniques employed by Pazder rather than actual experiences of these things. This criticism is also only fueled by the fact that Michelle and her psychiatrist Lawrence went on to divorce their respective spouses, marry each other, and then went on speaking tours. At the end of the day, however, I wasn't there, so who am I to say what happened for sure? Despite the controversy surrounding Michelle Remembers, the book has had a significant impact on popular culture and the public's perception of satanic cults. In our number 7 spot today, we have the Illuminati. You probably have heard of the Illuminati before, but did you know where it really all started? The Illuminati is a secret society that is believed to have originated in Bavaria, Germany in the 18th century, and they have been accused of engaging in satanic practices. It's said to have been founded by Adam Weishaupt, a professor of law at the University of Ingolstadt. The goals of the Illuminati are often shrouded in mystery and conspiracy theories, but they are said to have aimed to promote rationalism and free thought, as well as to oppose the influence of the Catholic Church. Of course, things change over time, and that includes the beliefs surrounding this mysterious organization. In today's day and age, for those who claim the group still exists, the Illuminati has become the subject of numerous conspiracy theories that suggest they are involved in controlling world events and governments while still maintaining that satanic image. Despite the controversy and secrecy surrounding the Illuminati, its influence and impact on history remains a subject of interest and speculation for many people. In our number 6 spot today, we have the Ninth Circle. The Ninth Circle is a controversial and secretive group that is alleged to engage in satanic rituals that involve some pretty dark and horrifying things, including things like deadly sacrifices and flesh consuming. The group is said to operate globally with members from various countries around the world. I'll be honest, while the rumors and stories are aplenty, no one is absolutely certain that the group really exists. Is it fictional, or is it the world's most horrifying but best kept secret? Despite the controversy, the cult has gained a significant following among those who believe in its existence and the supposed atrocities it commits. The Ninth Circle cult remains a subject of controversy and speculation, with some viewing it as a legitimate threat to public safety, while others see it as just a baseless conspiracy theory. In our number 5 spot today, we have the Decadent Movement. The Decadent Movement was less of a cult and was more of a cultural and artistic movement that emerged in Europe in the late 19th century. It was characterized by a rejection of conventional morality and a celebration of excess, luxury, and, well, decadence. Decadent artists and writers sought to break free from the restrictions of traditional values and explore more taboo subjects such as sex, death, and the occult. They were known to celebrate Satan more in an artistic way rather than a religious way. The movement was influenced by a variety of factors, including the decline of aristocratic society, the rise of industrialization, and the growing influence of scientific rationalism. Decadent artists often depicted a world of boredom, decay, and degeneration, and their works were characterized by ornate and stylized language, vivid imagery, and a preoccupation with the senses. Some of the most famous figures associated with the Decadent movement include writers like Oscar Wilde and Charles Baudelaire, the latter being the person who wrote The Flowers of Evil and Litanies to Satan. In our number 4 spot today, we have the Brotherhood of the Golden Arrow. The Brotherhood of the Golden Arrow was a mystical and occult society founded by Maria de Naglowska in Paris in the early 20th century. Naglowska was a Russian occultist and author who claimed to have received divine revelations and messages from a group of advanced beings called the Unknown Superiors. The Brotherhood was based on the principles of the third term of the Trinity, which proposed a union of the masculine and feminine principles through the agency of a third neutral principle, and they also worshipped Lucifer, the serpent. The group practiced a form of sexual mysticism that they believed would lead to the attainment of higher consciousness and spiritual enlightenment. Members of the Brotherhood were known as initiates and participated in rituals that involved the use of symbols, music, dance, and sexual practices. The group was highly secretive and attracted a small but devoted following of intellectuals, artists, and writers. In our number 3 spot today, we have Procter & Gamble. Okay, not a cult, but a huge company. There has long been urban legends surrounding this company that suggest it is related to Satanism. I will say these are just rumors and conspiracies, and many people have done the work to try and debunk them, but when I came across this wild theory, I just had to share it with you. The idea that the former CEO of Procter & Gamble, John Smale, was involved in Satanism is a well-known conspiracy theory that has been circulating for decades, and the theory is based on the company's logo, which allegedly includes a depiction of Satan or the devil. People claim that John went on national television and shared how happy he was that the United States was so open-minded because now he could admit that the company had donated large sums of their profits to satanic cults. While no one has been able to produce a tape of him saying this, I just think this absolutely wild rumor was one worth sharing. I mean, who really knows? The conspiracy theory about Smale's supposed involvement in Satanism is believed to have originated from a rival company, Amway, which spread false rumors about Procter & Gamble in an attempt to damage its reputation. Despite being debunked numerous times, the rumor has persisted and continues to be spread by conspiracy theorists and anti-occult groups. In our number 2 spot today, we have the Process Church of the Final Judgment. This church was a religious cult that emerged in the 1960s and 1970s. The group was founded in the United Kingdom by Mary Ann McLean and Robert de Grimston, and it combined elements of Christianity, Satanism, and the occult. The group believed in a dualistic worldview in which Satan and Christ were seen as complementary forces. The Process Church also had a strong focus on apocalyptic themes and believed that the end of the world was imminent. The group's rituals were often performed in black robes and involved chanting, dancing, and other forms of ecstatic practices. Despite its controversial beliefs, the group gained a following in the United States and attracted several high-profile celebrities. However, the group's controversial beliefs and practices eventually led to its decline, and it disbanded in the 1970s. Today, the legacy of the Process Church continues to fascinate and intrigue those interested in the history of religious cults. Finally, in our number 1 spot today, we have Catherine Monvosian. During the reign of Louis XIV, poison was one of those things that you really just had to worry about. It was on the rise as an easy and sneaky way to take people out and to change the course of inheritance and influence. Because of the worries surrounding possible poisonings and stories of people close to the king doing some shady stuff, investigations began. It was soon found out that the king's chief mistress, the Marquis de Montespan, was said to be quite the client of Catherine. Catherine was a Parisian salesperson who sold powders and potions that were meant to catch the attention for the king. You know, love potion stuff. And among these love potion stories were also the stories of horrifying rituals and rites in order to get these alleged powers. These stories of course terrified the king, and this led for him to order Catherine to be burned at the stake, and not only this, but hundreds of others were implicated as well. Some passed from the conditions they were being held under, others were executed, and some saw punishments that spared their lives, but their reputations were forever tarnished. For the chief mistress, however, well, although she was connected to this entire ordeal, she was the mother of several of the king's children, and because of this close connection to the king, she wasn't arrested or tried. Instead, though, she was retired and sent to a convent to live the rest of her life.